This week, we've got Christian Schauf on the podcast. Christian is the founder and CEO of Uncharted Supply Co. If you've never heard of them, you need to listen to this. They make survival gear, preparedness gear, but the twist is this. It's really, really detailed in terms of how it's utilized. And most of the people listening to this are men, also very capable women listen to this, but they provide a ton of preparedness gear that you can put in your wife's car, your kid's vehicle, your vehicle. I've got a daughter who's a freshman in college, a 72-hour survival kit that you can put in your kid's dorm. And each one of these things, every little thing in there is labeled in terms of what it is, what it does, and how to use it. It's really a pretty remarkable concept. There's so much out there in terms of first aid kits and survival gear and that kind of stuff. But if the person you give it to doesn't know how to use it, it's not going to do them any good. And the reality of it is, it's very difficult for us to get our spouse, our kids, or anybody to a class to actually teach them how to utilize preparedness equipment. So this is one of the big things of Uncharted is that they give you the opportunity to prepare yourself, your family members with gear that they actually can utilize, even if they haven't trained specifically with it. So one of the things we talk about in this podcast is that 95% of all disaster type situations, help comes within 72 hours. And so if you can prepare your loved one with a kit, something like that, where they can survive within a short window of time, then it gives them an edge that they wouldn't otherwise have. They make a lot of other stuff too. Like I've got the Uncharted, I think it's the Pro, which is a smaller kit and it's for the car. I've got that in each one of my wife and my daughter's car. They make a really cool product that's a battery jumper. It's called the Zeus. You can get it with or without the ability to inflate tires with it. And that's something you stick in your car. You don't have to use jumper cables anymore. It just attaches directly to the battery and jump starts the battery. So just a lot of really thoughtful preparedness products and super cool. They make bags that are, waterproof, bomb-proof, indestructible that you can throw in the back of your truck, keep your hunting gear in if you don't have a topper and you don't have to worry about getting wet. We talked about tariffs and how tariffs are potentially impacting not just Christian's business, but anybody that's got a product-based business and what that looks like right now. I went through the nexus of the company, basically how Uncharted became Uncharted, like how did the name come about, what was the origin story. Really cool story about Christian's grandfather and some advice that he received unexpectedly through a letter that his mom sent. This is a super cool interview. There is a little bit of talk about hunting, but it's not a hunting heavy interview. He's going on a hunt to South Africa here in just about 5 days. And I think by the time this airs, he'll have been back from it already. But they're going to hunt part of the time to harvest meat for some of the local schools. And then they're going to hunt part of the time out in New Zealand for stag. So he's just a really cool dude, big adventurer, explorer kind of guy that you'd want to be in a foxhole with, and a great CEO with a great product. So I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoyed talking to Christian. Thanks for being here. As always, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, please give me a rating and a quick review. If you're listening to this over on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. I appreciate you. Enjoy the podcast with Christian. I'm just going to jump right into the conversation because we were talking offline about the tariffs and the impact the tariffs are having on product-based businesses. So let's just keep rolling on that conversation. Give a little bit of a summary of what you're dealing with from a standpoint of your product acquisition base and how that impacts your business right now.
Well, I would start by saying I'm a proud American. I think there's value in creating American jobs. And I think that we live in a global economy. I think that, these aren't decisions I made to get products from outside of the country. These are systems that were put in place decades ago, right? So
yeah, I mean, what NAFTA was 90? What year was that? 97? The NAFTA was signed, and it started before then. But I mean, that was really what opened the floodgates.
So we live in a world where even if something's made in America, probably a big chunk of that is coming from somewhere else. And it's just how our economy works right now. Now, do I think this is the right direction? Yes. Like, I'm in support of onshoring things and protecting our country, and when it comes to military type stuff, medical type stuff. Yeah, COVID was scary when China, as an example, was our source for those things. That's something we should pay attention to. But my perspective would be, I wish it was a little more of a scalpel than it was a sledgehammer. Maybe that's what had to happen. But it puts companies like ours in a really tough spot, because we've been working for over a year on different supply chains around the country, around the world. These things take a long time. Not only are you meeting with new factories, you got to build some trust. They've got to run samples. You got to get pricing that works. And this is just, it takes longer to move things than to simply say 125% tariff. Because in my business, if I went to sell one of our products and just wanted to keep my margin the same, it would effectively double or more the cost of our products. And I think that makes it impossible for people to buy. I mean, we're trying to sell survival systems to people that, we were trying to do this at scale, right? Like, we tried to make a product that was affordable to a wide range of people and create heroes and helpers out there that could not only take care of themselves, maybe help their neighbor, and really make the world a better place. But if that suddenly becomes a $2,000
proposition,
yeah. The number of people you can have believe in that mission becomes smaller, and that's the rub, man. I mean, it's a complicated thing. I'm not sitting here saying I think it should all go away. I think directionally it's correct, but it definitely is very hard for a business like ours, and I think most businesses, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that there was not more, with COVID and how long ago that happened, that there wasn't more people on the American manufacturing side that saw that as an opportunity and started to scale up production. I mean, I know there are some people who have done that, but it almost felt like it just went back to business as usual. Like, there was this huge scare. Oh, we can't get anything. And then as soon as it was over, it's like people have short memories.
Well, that's an interesting one, because I think what happened was a lot of people pushed sales forward during COVID, especially in the outdoor industry, right? People bought, I've got a company down the hill here that I'm close with, a big company, and their sales went through the roof during COVID. People were grilling out and spending time at home, and now, you don't need to buy one of their products every 3 or 4 years. So now, they're trying to catch up. So now you've got this big awesome moment, and then sales slow down. Well, that's not the time to build a factory in the United States either. So, and it almost feels like, I'm not an economist, but it feels like, instead of writing people checks during COVID, they should have invested in building supply chains, like create some jobs. That would have been a more useful way to put that money to work, in my opinion. But look, man, I'm not that good at that stuff. I'm just trying to put crap in backpacks and sell it. That's always my joke when I see Elon's rockets land from outer space on their tail perfectly. I'm like, and here I am trying to put stuff in backpacks, But look, we're gonna figure it out, and most people will. And hopefully there's a long-term strategy here that plays out in well for everybody, and we end up stronger. I mean, nothing's easy, especially when you're trying to build a business. So it's got to get up every day and fight.
Isn't being an entrepreneur is fun, isn't it? It is a lot of times, but I mean, I've had times like that so I own a service-based business now, but I used to own surgery centers, and they were, first couple centers that we opened, we bootstrapped heavily. We funded them ourselves, leveraged just about everything we own. And there were some serious sleepless nights. I mean, if you get anywhere as an entrepreneur, you've had times like that in the business cycle.
Yeah. I mean, there's that quote, if you knew how hard it was, you wouldn't start. Right. And
that's a great quote.
I think about that all the time. It's the reality of it. Somebody the other day, I was listening to a podcast, I think it was PBD, and they were saying, like, you're not an entrepreneur until you've gone without pay to make sure payroll is met multiple times. And, it's funny when we get into these tough situations and I'm talking to other people, it is interesting. There's two things that people say. I've been there, and you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
So you have to just have a lot of faith and say your prayers and trust that, like, you're doing the right work, and the answer will emerge. You can't just go stay in bed all day. You got to keep fighting for it. And if you do that, I think things work out. But it doesn't take the anxiety away in the moment. That's for sure.
It does not. No, but I can tell just because I've listened to you on other podcasts before, and I've seen the way you talk about things. You think a lot like me. You're a big picture guy. Like you're very kind of a visionary type person, and you seem like a really good problem solver, right? And that's what gets people through these kinds of situations. It's you get up, you grind. It's not easy. It's super stressful, but you will make it through it. And I mean, a huge part of that too is just that you've got such a good product. I think anyone that knows anything about your product is going to have brand loyalty, like regardless of whether or not the price has to have some kind of an impact based upon the tariffs. Like I think just people are committed to your brand as a whole.
I appreciate that. I would say the counter to that is if I'm a big picture guy, I'm probably not a great details guy. My team,
I'm the exact same way, man. I am terrible to details. Like,
yeah. I don't know how many times hey, where's that document, or what's this? Explain this to me again. And something I should have known years ago. But look, we've all got our skill, we've all got our strong points, and we've got our weak points, and it's just really important to build a great team around you and plug all those holes, and just trust that you've got the right army.
Yeah. Well, somebody told me really early on in my career as an entrepreneur that one of your greatest strengths is to know your weaknesses and to make sure you surround yourself with people that are good at the stuff you're not very good at, and not be intimidated by those people, but to empower them, to really rise the boat. So, segue, just so we can put things on a lighter note, you were going to talk about your hunt. So you said you're scrambling, trying to figure out all this tariff stuff, but you're trying to get ready for a hunt. What are you getting ready for?
Yeah, every time, and I don't do this very often, but every time I decide to go do something cool and actually step away, it's like that's right when the sky is falling in some aspect. So I've got a trip planned. I'm actually going to South Africa and New Zealand in the same. I think John Barklow said, you're going to offset the rotation in the southern hemisphere. So I'm going with my buddy Andrew Arabito. He has a company called Half Face Blades. He's a former SEAL, and we both work with Christian Arms and Silencer Co. and PSE. And so the first leg of the trip, we're actually going with the Baku Bikes guys and Collies, which is an outfitter over there. They have about half a dozen schools that they financially support, and a big part of that is food. And so we're going over for the first week, and it's more of a meat harvest than it is a trophy hunt. People think of trophy hunts in Africa, and I've definitely done that, and that's really fun too. But this is a little more about going over with the bows and being with a couple great brands. Mountain Ops is going, All In. There's just a few kind of archery centric, hunting brands, and we're going over to try to restock the meat over there for the schools, and then
that
help
sounds
tell
like
the story.
An amazing trip. Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. I've been fortunate to go to Africa a couple times now, and that's an adventure. It's an experience. It's one thing to see a lion or an elephant in a zoo. It's another to be bow hunting in Impala and have one walk by you, when all you have is a bow and a knife. So it's really, I'm going to do my best to enjoy it. It's really special. I'm excited for that. And then from there we go to New Zealand, and we are hunting stag and tar for like a content piece for those brands. I love watching hunting videos on YouTube. I just feel like more and more, these are, I don't want to say just like high fence. Like I don't have anything against high fence, but the videos I like are the real pure adventure ones. And where we're going is 80,000 acres of new land that these guys just acquired over there that they haven't hunted yet. And they're going to drop us off up there, and we're going to get after it. So, for me, being a brand guy and just the things I like to do, I think authenticity is always paramount. And, what's the gear you're using, and how is it testing you as an individual? And I would rather shoot a little raghorn in a really, really hard environment than, shoot a monster in a very canned situation. So that's what we set out to find. I think we've got a good location. And I'm pretty excited to get out there and check that out. I've never been.
And are you doing that guided, or are y'all just going to go figure it out, scout it ahead of time, and then go figure it out on your own? You got enough guys that you're going to tackle it?
I believe there's going to be a guide with us in New Zealand. I'm a little light on details on that one. I told them like we'd be cool with whatever. So I think it might even be like legally they have to have somebody with us when we're doing those types of hunts. But I told them, look, we want to make this as on us as possible, from the physicality of it to the skills and finding the animals, getting the shots, to carrying it out. I don't want a player sitting behind the camera and we're faking carrying it out. Like we're gonna do it and to the best of our ability. So, and then Andrew, if you don't know Andrew, I joke that he's a modern day pirate. He's one of the most unique people I've ever met. I'm proud to call him a friend. Just a warrior and a lot of fun. So I think we'll have a good time.
There's not a whole lot better than going and do something that you have a passion for with people that you just love being around. That's an amazing
That's what life's about, right?
That's the whole adventure, right?
You ever see that Instagram picture of the Indian? It says something about the white man works 40 hours a week, get outside one day a week. And
I've never seen that one.
Alluding that we have it backwards. I think about that a lot, like those moments of pure life are actually pretty small when you're working and running a business. So try to make the most of it and try to prioritize the best we can to get those opportunities in while I still have the strength and, the physicality to do it. So
how old are you?
44.
Okay. So I spent 30 years on a football field as a coach, and I just started hunting 3 years ago. I didn't grow up with a dad who hunted. My uncle and my grandfather just like bird hunted when I was a kid, and so every once in a while I'd go out with them, but they lived like 10 hours away. And so I wasn't raised by anybody that hunted. And I got to know Bert through some mutual friends, and he's really the one who got me into bow hunting. And honestly, the being outdoors and learning how to do that and being in that element has completely changed my life. It's literally been a life-changing event for me.
I tell people often, I'm actually slowly working on a book, and the kind of thesis of the book is that there are historical solutions to modern problems. Meaning, we have the best medical that's ever existed. We have the best education systems. We have the best food systems. And we have the highest incidence of mental illness.
Yeah.
So what's happening? And it's that humans aren't getting to be humans. They're not doing what they're designed to do. So people do yoga, they do nature baths, they do meditation and Tai Chi. And you start looking at what the movements and it's like, have you ever been bow hunting?
It's like, get outside.
It's all those things, right? I mean, we are cavemen living in a modern world, and we're not evolving as fast as our world is. And I think that there's a rub there where our bodies are craving what it was designed to do. A lot of people don't get I lived in Southern California for a few years for a job, and like the hardest thing I could do was like put on spandex and get on my road bike and go ride 100 miles. But even then, it's like you're not really in nature. You're on highways, and you're not dirty. It's just like there's odd value in that really changes you. I have so many friends that I've gotten into bow hunting that it's changed who they are in a good way. They start training more. They start thinking about things more. It's like they're calmer, they're happier. It's a really interesting thing. Like you said, when you get into it, how it rewires you. I mean, Joe Rogan could talk about anything on his podcast, and I bet he talks about archery elk hunting more than anything. And I think that's a testament to how
the people in the comment section are like, for the love of God, please stop talking about archery. But
you know the feeling, and I know the feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's like that guy could do anything he wants anytime, and that's the thing that's resonating the most with him. And I think that says something, right? This isn't like he couldn't go to Paris and sit under the Eiffel Tower and drink espressos. Like, he could do whatever he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
What he'd like to do is go archery elk hunting, because it has an effect on humans, I believe.
Yeah, it does. I mean, last year was it was only my second season hunting last year, and I went out to Colorado and took a swing at archery elk hunting. Up until that point, whitetail. I live in South Carolina, but my side of the family is from Illinois. My wife's side of the family is from Missouri. So two really good whitetail states. And I'm actually from Michigan. I know you're from Wisconsin, so I'm a Midwesterner, a Nordic, just like you are. But I've got this picture that kind of sticks in my head. I actually put it on my Instagram, but it's a picture of the sun coming up over this farmhouse. It's my mother-in-law's farmhouse with the cornfield behind it. And I had just it was the first day we had gotten there, and I was going to go out a little bit later in the morning. And I just that thing plays on a loop in my head, when I'm stressed, when I'm this, when I'm that, I'll literally will just open that picture on my phone and look at it and kind of take 15 seconds and go back there. But when I get out in the woods and I get away from all the crap that we have kind of contrived to supposedly make our lives easier, you just feel like a completely different human.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's hard to explain unless you've done it and you've been there.
Yeah.
But 100%.
So one of the things that I saw on your Instagram page today was a letter you posted from your grandfather. You okay talking about that?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. If you look behind me, there's I'm not very good at this. There's there's a little watch right there, and then there's a Bible right there. That's my grandfather's. My mom gave it to me. The Bible, the pages are kind of falling out of it because he used it so much. But that was when he passed away, that was something my mom gave me. And I just kind of made a comment in there that I didn't recognize what an amazing human he was when I was growing up. He died when I was in my 20s, so I didn't get to experience him into maturity. Man, I wish I could go back and talk to him now, know the way that I know things now. Talk a little bit about that, why you pulled that letter out, and why you decided to share that today, because I thought it was super powerful.
Well, there's a couple things going on that are interesting. First of all, we just talked about the tariffs.
Yeah.
We're in a pretty tough spot we're fighting through, and I think in those times I always look for guidance and inspiration wherever I can. My parents are also moving. My brother's actually moving back to our farm and going to live in the house I grew up in, and my parents are building a new house on the property, and so they've been doing just a lot of cleaning and sorting. So I think that's been going on too. But yeah, my mom just sent this over, just took a couple pictures and sent them to me and said, I thought you'd like to see this. And,
so did you have that letter, or did your mom just send that to you? Was it something that was at the house?
Sent it to me last night.
To you? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the timing is kind of divine, felt like he was nudging me from wherever he is.
Yeah.
And, but my grandpa was a really interesting guy, photographic memory, military background, Korean War, I could tell so many stories about him. He helped. So people probably know Jenny-O, the turkey producers. They acquired a company called Jerome Foods. Jerome Foods was a big turkey producer, and my grandpa and Wally Jerome started that business. And the entrepreneurship story he told me, growing up, it's funny how many times I think about those now, where they made big mistakes and they didn't have the money and they didn't know what was going to happen. And just there, my grandpa, my dad is an entrepreneur too, big dairy farm, crops and that kind of thing. And very successful. But when I was growing up, my dad was kind of in the state I'm right now and just head down and working.
Mm-hmm.
And so my grandpa ended up, being the guy that would take me to hockey games or be at the events. And my dad is my dad. We have a great relationship. There's no diss to my dad at all here, because we have a great relationship. But my grandpa probably played a bigger role because my dad was busy a lot of times. And so I spent a lot of time with him, and he was an amazing, amazing guy. Man, I just think about at his funeral, the story. Just one guy came up to me, I didn't know who he was. He said, I want to tell you a story about your grandpa. This guy had come back from deployment. He was a canine handler and was really struggling with life. I can't remember the exact details, but he was kind of down and out. My grandpa somehow came across him. I want to say my grandpa just started talking to him at a gas station while they were getting gas. It was like that random. Um, Started asking some questions. The guy was just mentioning about the dog. My grandpa had a friend that raised purebred German shepherds, family friends, and the guy said by the time he got home, there was a message. Now I'm gonna like cry telling the story, but there was a message on his voicemail from my grandpa saying he bought him a dog and
Wow.
go pick it up.
That's
So,
powerful. There's certain people that
yeah.
are like that, you know, they're just, they're built to care for people. Like they care about people. It doesn't matter whether they know them or whether they have just met them. There's something that's empathetic about them. And
Yeah, big time.
and when you see that growing up, it's hard for it not to rub off on and, you know, really impact who you become as a person. So I'm looking at your note from your grandpa, and this is, he was kind of talking about a time that he had gone through something difficult. And he said, here's a few key points. I love this. Always look sharp. Keep your hair cut often. Dress sharp. Carry yourself erect. Good posture. Present an optimistic attitude to others. Set goals daily, weekly. Work at accomplishing them with an all-out effort. And he said, I'd work as hard as long each day as it took to accomplish those goals. And this is very generational. I didn't talk about my sadness to anyone. I'd choke up and get wet eyes, but I'm assuming Eula was his wife, right?
No, I don't know that.
Oh, okay.
That must. I don't know if that was like a typo or something. I couldn't figure out what that was, but yeah, I think that's a quote that he said it all the time. Yeah,
I've never heard that one, but 97% of the people I know don't care about my problems, and the rest are happy I've got them.
Yeah, he told me that all the time.
Yeah, try to appear to be strong. I notice that people associate with others cheerful and confident. They want to spend time with those people. They have an impression of them being successful. And then I pray to God every day. I talk with the Lord every day. Man, that's some seriously powerful wisdom right there.
Yeah.
You know, and the very last one is having faith, which I know is a part of your life as well. But what a cool, like that your mom found that and sent it to you just like right in the middle of what you're dealing with right now. That seems much more than a coincidence to me.
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
Hey guys, big thanks to Osseo Gear for supporting the show. Osseo is built specifically for bow hunters. Every stitch, zipper, and fabric choice is made to perform when it's quiet and the pressure's on. Their camo patterns are inspired by nature's predators, and they're purpose-built to ensure you blend naturally into the specific environment you are hunting. Make sure to use the code DONOTGO20 to get 20% off on your purchases at OsseoGear.com. Osseo is made for bow hunters by bow hunters. So give them a check. They're a big supporter of the podcast, and we appreciate them. Great gear. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about, I was listening to, I think it was maybe a podcast you did with Jack Carr, and I thought it was interesting. And I wanted to, well, before I dive away and go into Uncharted, I wanted to ask you I want to talk a little bit about, just for the gear nerds out there, about your bow setup. So what are you running? What's your bow setup? What are you running, and what kind of arrows you running? Just kind of walk everybody through what you're running on your archery setup.
Yeah, I've shot everything over the last 3 or 4 years. I've been shooting PSE, so Mach 34s, Mach 33 is what I've got a Mach 33 right now. Last year I had an 80-pound Mach 34.
You're shooting 80, huh?
Yeah. Honestly, it doesn't feel that much harder than 70, and I really like a flat trajectory.
Yeah.
I think when animals are moving around, and if there's a 5-yard discrepancy, if you've got less drop, that's, it's not about like trying to be big and strong. It's like you got to thread the needle, or if you got a little variance on kind of your range, that compensates. And that's why I like that. So I've got those. I'm running an UltraView sight right now that isn't released yet. I think it's coming out in a couple months. So I've been working with them on some product development around the new sight.
So that's different than the Matthew sight. It's something else.
Yeah, I would. I don't know how much I've got an NDA signed, but I would say it's it's in the same family for sure.
Okay,
but
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great sight. I love it. It's got dual sight tapes, So I will run mechanicals at 125 and fixed blades at 150 in the same quiver, depending on what the situation, like in Africa, right? You have a bigger animal or it's close. And so I can run 2 sight tapes there. I kind of go back and forth between a stand release and an ultra view. Since I've started working with ultra view, I've been using more of their products. I've historically used a stand XT, I think it is, for the last couple of years.
Are you shooting an index release or a thumb?
A thumb.
A thumb. Okay. So is the stand maybe you just answered this, but are you shooting that clicker or no? Have you
I've never used a clicker. This is just pull the trigger and it goes. I don't even know how to shoot a clicker, so I'm pretty self-taught. So
I'm the same way, but I just started messing with it a few weeks ago because I've shot a Carter like for the last couple of years, and that the clicker, you basically have to just kind of creep into the click, and then as soon as you hit the click, it's basically like a hair trigger. So it's supposedly supposed to work you. I haven't decided which one I'm going to hunt with yet, but from a training perspective, it definitely makes you kind of slow down and not punch the trigger so much.
Yeah, I took a class with Joe Turner.
Yeah.
I always thought I had a pretty good, process. And he was calling me Mike Tyson because he said I was punching the
you're
trigger
punching it so hard.
So
I don't think I've ever seen him coach anybody and say, you got a great process. He'll break you down, man. He's like a drill sergeant.
His business revolves around finding errors for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I use the thumb, and I've had really good success with that. I like the hairkin. Just it's all you don't have to squeeze too hard and it goes. Yeah. I'm running the UltraView arrows right now. Last year I shot the Easton Axis. I love them both.
Yeah.
Again, just working with the UltraView guys, and these arrows are just awesome. I know they're expensive.
Is it a 4mm or a 5mm arrow?
It's a 5, I believe.
The 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, that's my setup.
What's your arrow weight?
They're 514 grains. And
okay.
I'm flying 286 feet per second right now.
286 at 514 grains? Wow.
And that's a 70-pound bow, is what I have right now. I'm waiting for my 80 to show up. So I usually like to be around 300 feet per second. I feel like arrows, if I had one challenge with the 80-pound bow, it's that you needed really big fletchings to drive that arrow because it was coming out so hot, it would kind of fishtail.
Yeah.
And usually they end up in the right spot, but the flight pattern was kind of interesting. So I think 280 to 300 is the right spot. And then I just kind of get my arrow weight as heavy as I can to hit that. I've got a 31-inch draw too, so that really helps.
I was going to say I think mine's about 460, and I'm getting about 282 out of it, but I don't have a 31-inch draw. I've got a 29.25-inch draw. So
yeah, it's a force multiplier. I have 8 arms, and I finally found a good use for them besides all my dress shirts, being like this. So, so that's the bow setup, and I think with this bow I've shot 6 or 7, 8 animals, something like that. It's been great. I love it. I mean, I think everybody makes great bows, but I've just been really impressed with this 33, especially. The 34 didn't have as much integration to it. So there's just a lot of stuff bolted on. The 33 is it's so clean. Everything's integrated, and I think it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. I've never shot a PSE. I think I've shot Matthews, Hoyt, Prime, Dart, and just about all I've just never, and I don't have probably as many archery shops around here as y'all do. So, but the place where I go they don't carry PSE. So never shot them, but I've heard great things.
It's a distant third, I think, to Hoyt and Matthews as far as where you can find it and kind of scale. But I have some friends over there, and I've done some really fun things with them, and it absolutely worked. I people might hate me for saying this. I shot a bull elk last year. It was a 57-yard frontal, and I mean, we sponsored TAC, so I probably shoot 15 TAC courses per year leading up to archery season. But by the time that shot presented itself, I have this rule where just draw back, and then if it doesn't feel good, don't shoot. But if it feels good, let it go. And I was as confident as anything. One shot, he went 20 yards, and like that bow just works. So it works for me, and I'm going to keep rocking it.
Yeah. Do you sponsor all the tax? Like, are you going to Tennessee this year, the one in the Southeast, or you just
No,
do the ones on the west side of the country?
we're still a small business, and we got
Yeah.
7 employees, and going all over the country is a little too big of a reach for us still. So we'll do Utah, Montana this year, maybe one other, but we usually kind of stay close to home, and those tend to be some of the bigger ones. So,
Yeah.
we go there and do our best to make our presence known. But I love them; they're a lot of fun.
I got the dates mixed up on the application for Tennessee, and it happened when we were at Winter Strong. And I'm sitting there talking to, Jeff up in Nashville. What's his last name? He's Strong to Hunt on Instagram, but we were sitting there talking, and he's like, "Hey, are you going to Tennessee TAC?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm planning on it." He goes, "Oh, who are you going with?" He goes, "I just got my applications done." He goes, "My buddy just did them for me." I go, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's happening right now." I'm like, "I got on. It was done. Sold out already."
Oh man. Well, I do know some people there, so if you really want to go, let me know. Maybe I can call in a
Nice.
favor. Yeah.
There you go. That's sweet. So I wanted to dig in a little bit around Uncharted, but a little bit personal too. I know that one of the things you talk about a lot is community, and how kind of the nexus, or at least part of the inspiration of the company, was how in the past, a huge part of our history as a country is that we did things as a community. We survived, went through difficult situations as a community, and that was a big part of your thought process around that. Can you elaborate a little bit on just the genesis of where that started, and then the evolution of that as you've kind of thought about your product line to where you are right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said earlier, I grew up on a dairy farm. Um, and my family was a family of helpers. If there was a snowstorm, we plowed the whole neighborhood out. And if there was a
Yeah.
tornado, we'd take chainsaws and go cut people out. This is what we did. That was just normal to me. I went to Iraq 39 times. I was doing a lot around the entertainment side, like kind of morale and welfare for the troops. And so, again, another place where it's very team oriented. It's very, I don't know if you call it community with the military, but everybody's in a unit and in a group and working together.
Yeah.
And then I took a job in Southern California, like I mentioned previously, for a few years, and it was so abrupt that it made me start this company. I mean,
What were you doing out there?
I was the head of marketing and sales for a fitness app company.
Okay.
And so I was out there about 4 years. But I remember it raining one day, and like there was some party going on, or people were getting together, and nobody would leave their homes for rain. And it was like, what? What are you talking about? And I could give you a million examples. I don't mean to rag on the West Coast. It's a beautiful place, but it just showed me that when you don't have community, when you don't grow up there, you don't know your neighbors, um, you don't care about them,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't care about you. And sometimes you need more than what you can do to get through something. And so, you go back to tribes hunting woolly mammoths or fighting off invading armies. Nobody did that single handedly. That was all community based. That was all working as a team to overcome things. And we don't have those monsters anymore, but we have different monsters, but we don't really have the community in a lot of places. So my goal with Uncharted was to, the line I've been using a lot lately is like to create heroes and helpers. Like, how do we take it from this, like, oh, I'm just going to hit a button on my phone and somebody will come and fix my problem, to I'm self-sufficient and maybe I can help my neighbor too. That was really my goal, because when I look at where this world's going, I have a deck here. I could show you that, like, $1 billion natural disasters are increasing at 15% annually. It's like a hockey stick of things happening. I mean, just look in the last year. You had the hurricanes in the Carolinas. You had the fires in California. Um, there's all sorts of things going on, and these are getting worse and worse. And so, and that might be climate change. It might be just because people love to live next to the shores of things and next to mountains, and they're stacking on top of each other, so it amplifies when something does happen. But at the same time, what I would call life skills are diminishing. There is less and less farm kids like me that grew up changing tires and changing oil and getting unstuck and figuring out how to get home out of the woods. And it's not that people are dumb. It's not that people are ignorant. It's just that they didn't get the reps that generations before did. And you add that to the fact that everybody's kind of siloed into small little groups, even if that. And I think it's a recipe for disaster when big things happen. And so our goal was, I mean, at the same time, then I go, do I believe that I could create a training business where I would get people at scale to come do training? Like, I don't think, I think people's lives are busy. I don't think that people are going to have the perseverance to learn a bunch of skills and stay up on them. Think how hard it is to stay up on just archery and being able to shoot an arrow consistently. Now multiply that times 100 different skills you need. So my goal was like, can we build products that would problem solve for as much of that as possible and improve situations and have that be a starting point? How do you take that first step to being better? And so, our products they're really high quality, but it's also, they're organized in a way that color coordinate with color coordinated instructions. So if you are freaking out and adrenaline spiking and you've got to get through something that you've never been through before, you can go to our product and follow step-by-step instructions on how to get through that using the tools in there. And that's way better than what used to be, which is just like some old dusty backpack with a bunch of things that didn't sell in a military supply store, and so that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make people self-sufficient, and hopefully that leads to coming from a place of abundance where you can help others. And if you do that at scale, you've got a better world. So that's my audacious goal. Is like, how do we get to the Yeti size where everybody's got one, and you never have somebody that's stranded with a dead battery again because somebody or you can fix that or have first aid or be able to make water or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because my youngest daughter is a freshman in college, and there's been multiple times where she's about like 3 hours away, where she's either had a friend down here, her friend's car died, or we're up there and there's snow and something happens with her friend's car, and we always end up being the one who goes and helps whoever her friend is. She's got a bunch of them, and her friends are always like, your parents know how to do a lot of stuff, because my wife's super capable too. Like, she lays tile and like rehabs houses and does all kind of stuff like that. And I think it's kind of surprising to a lot of these kids because their parents work in offices and that kind of stuff, which I mean I kind of do too. But I remember the first vehicle I ever got, my dad still is notoriously cheap, and he had a buddy of his that rebuilt cars. They went to college together, who lived in Louisiana. We lived in Michigan. So he rebuilt a truck for me from the junkyard, and we flew down and picked it up and drove it home from Louisiana. But it was a Southern vehicle. And I remember in Michigan, I used to have to put an electric dipstick in the oil reservoir every night so it wouldn't freeze, because otherwise it wouldn't start. Yeah, just to keep it warm,
Wow, yeah.
Stuff like that. But stuff that our kids would never even like think about. But the product that you make, if somebody's listening and hasn't looked at an Uncharted product before, talk a little bit more about like how you label stuff, what that kind of looks like inside, because I've got like a number of your products in my wife's vehicle, my daughter's vehicle, my daughter's dorm. And the beauty of it is, like, it's really hard for me to get, a 19-year-old girl to want to go do a trauma training class or anything like that. Right. But I can sit there and open this and go, look, there's a tag on everything. If you need it, it tells you what to do, what you use it for, and how to use it. And she's like, oh, that's cool. And it also doesn't like look tactical. So she's cool having it in her car.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things is I think people that have thought about this stuff historically call it, from a military background, because that's where the training was, and those were the people that had the need for that type of thing. And that doesn't resonate with everybody. I mean, I like that stuff, but our first bag we ever made, the 72, it was like this heathered gray, because at the time, that's what like Nike was doing and Lululemon and guys like that. And I wanted anything that I could do from a design aspect to make it feel more like the brand people were used to buying. So it felt a little closer to home versus, this kind of scary looking thing because it looks military. So there's a lot of thought in kind of the aesthetic of it, but at the same time, it absolutely has to perform. Um, our everything we make is almost everything we make is welded, waterproof material. I've jumped off 20-foot cliffs with the backpack strapped to my chest to see if I could blow the air out of it, and it just floats me to the top. It can work as a life vest if you needed it. But more importantly, it keeps everything inside clean and pristine. And when the time comes, you need it. Maybe that thing's been sitting in a basement or the back of a truck. The last thing you want to do is open up the stuff you have and it's moldy or rats got into it or something else. So there's just a lot of thought in everything that we put together. There's a reason behind everything. And we wanted to make a cool brand. In the end, you're kind of buying insurance, but if you could make it something that you kind of lust after, that you want to own because it looks cool and you want to like put up on your truck or in your side by side or something like that, then that just gives you another reason to commit to it. So yeah, we spend a lot of time thinking about. I always say we kind of reverse engineer from the time of emergency, right? I remember one of the first kits I bought when I was starting and looking at it. There was a knife in the kit, and it was in one of those plastic kind of things that you need a knife to open. And I was like, wow, imagine.
I need to get to the knife, but I can't get to it because I can't cut it open to get in there.
A knife's going to save your life, and you're holding it, and it's in the plastic. It takes 10 minutes to get open, or your hands are frozen.
Almost too ridiculous to contemplate the fact that was real. But I know it was. But yeah, it is.
It was really bad when we started, and I just thought, gosh, I'd always wanted to be in the outdoor industry. I used to sneak into outdoor retail show, but I learned some lessons from earlier jobs I had, and that was that you want to skate to open ice, right? I prefer to not compete with a big behemoth and make a Gore-Tex shell.
Right.
Where's the gap? And at the same time, I was like, I want to make a business that is profitable, obviously, but that's not enough. I want to leave the campsite better than I found it. I want to make a difference and have a mission. And it all just dovetailed into this idea around helping people prepare. And that's what we work on every day.
So where did the name come from? I'm kind of a branding nerd. I've got a similar background to yours. I was in big Fortune 500 companies in medical for about 10 years on the marketing side, sales side, and then a lot of that in building my businesses too. So I get super interested in how do you name stuff and where did that come from? So where did the name come from? And then where did the tagline come from? Because I love the tagline is "Don't die," which is freaking awesome. Where did you
I had the tagline first. I always try to distill things down to as few words as possible. And I distilled it down to "Stay alive." But when I say that, all I see is the Bee Gees, in that song.
Yep.
And so I was looking
at that. Don't die is a million times better.
How do you say "stay alive" in a different way? Or you say "don't die,"
Yeah.
So that's what I had at first. And I remember a kid that helped me kind of build our logo. And he's like, you can't use that. That's way too aggressive. And I'm like, I'm doing it just because you said that, if it's giving you a visceral response, then it's doing something. So I really like that. Sometimes I wish I would have called us Don't Die Incorporated, and just run that as the company name. And I've even thought about changing it at times. The problem with that is as you get into, we're talking to a lot of big box retailers right now, and Target's not going to like Don't Die Incorporated as much as they like Uncharted,
Right.
It's just a little too aggressive. So
for sure. Yeah.
We've kept the word
much more mainstream.
Yeah. And the word Uncharted, I wanted a word that didn't elicit fear. But maybe the navigation of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Uncharted, so people confuse Uncharted with Uncharted. Uncharted to me is rudderless, you're just meandering. But Uncharted is I'm going into something that is unknown, but it's not fearful. It's the unknown.
It's an adventure.
And I think when you think about, our goal has never been to sell based on fear. Mm-hmm. I don't believe there's been other companies that have come and gone that have done that. you better prepare because some dude's going to break into your house and shoot your wife. It's like, I don't like that as much. I like that our company talks about being heroes and helpers and being a solution and being confident. And I thought that Uncharted was just kind of a cool word to use. And then, I don't know. I don't even remember where Supply Co came from or anything else, but I do remember I was going to call it Uncharted Survival, but I felt that was too narrow. So Uncharted Supply gave us the license to get outside of survival if we wanted to at some point, but didn't limit us. So that was
Yeah.
kind of how I came up with that. And now you got that guy in LA that's taking like 80 pills a day and doing all the biohacking that is using Don't Die. And I didn't
really?
carve
I
out
don't even know who that is.
biohacking. That Brian Johnson guy, you don't know him? Oh
No.
gosh, yeah,
I'm
he's
gonna have
all
to
over the
look it
news
up.
all the time. He's trying to live forever, and his big thing is Don't Die. And silly me, I didn't I didn't put in like biohacking and supplements into our trademark. So anyway, kind of funny, but that's where the name came from.
I think the Supply Co is kind of cool. It's I don't even know how to put the right words to it, but by tacking that onto the end, it almost has this like it kind of gives this feel of like this, like a supply company that, like 100 years ago when you go to the mercantile and that kind of stuff and you had to buy like essential goods, right? Like that's when I see the way that it's written and the way that it's kind of done on the brand, like it kind of emotes this, I know it's not meant to emote nostalgia, but it kind of does to me. Like that's kind of how I see it. It's like, okay, that's where I get my essential stuff. Like,
that's another part of it. If you look at our logo, which is, a Saint Bernard.
yeah.
I started with like an eagle, and I was trying all these different kind of Americana type logos, and my dog's over here snoring away. I don't know if you can hear him, but Saint Bernards were bred by the monks in the Bernard Pass, and they were bred with the sole purpose of the Bernard Pass was this pass between two countries. It was like a shortcut, but storms would come in frequently, so these travelers would get stuck in these crazy storms. And
Which
the
two
monk,
countries is it between?
it's in the Swiss Alps, yeah. So it's between Italy and Switzerland.
Gotcha.
And it was a shortcut, but people get stuck out there. So the monks would send these big dogs out, and the Bernards were bred to have a crazy nose on them. They could dig super fast, and they could pull people back to the house. So what a great feeling for like a survival, preparedness company. What will be better than just this thing that kind of sits in the corner, lays by the fire, and when you need it, it's ready and it performs, and then it goes back. And it felt nostalgic to me. It felt warm. And I love dogs. So that was kind of how we got the logo, but there was intention in all that. We wanted to make it feel like something that had been around a long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I had heard you say that, and I'm not sure where you got this data from, but I thought it was interesting that 95% of survival situations are resolved within 72 hours. And so a big part of the way that you built the philosophy around your products was to basically put people in a situation where even if they're not super capable from a knowledge standpoint, they've got what they need and it's understandable enough that it could get them through 72 hours. And then you eventually actually did a 72-hour pack. Talk a little bit more about that. I found that really interesting.
Yeah. We call it the 72, and it was based on that statistic. So a lot of people think about, I got to have bunkers and I have to have all this food. And when I was living in Southern California, people were mostly in 2,000 square foot apartments type thing. You don't have the ability to build a bunker. You don't have the space to store a ton of supplies. And it's very expensive, right? Cash is always tight. So if I could sell you on the idea that 95% of the things that could happen, you can take care of in this like 11-pound bag.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that seems like a proposition people would be able to get behind. That's how I started this company, is like, okay, $350 or whatever it was at the time, 11 pounds, you can have in your car, you can have it in your closet. But if things go off, that'll get you through 3, maybe more days. And that's all you need. By then, things settle down and help arrives 95% of the time. That felt like a reasonable pitch.
What are
So
the
that
primary?
was,
I mean, I know it's full of tons of stuff, but just from a big picture perspective, what are the primary components in that? Like, that would get somebody through 3 days.
yeah, so that's interesting because a lot of times people are like, hey, I want an earthquake kit. I want a hurricane kit. I want a winter storm kit. What you have to do is you have to think about the human body. What the human
Mm-hmm.
body needs is a certain temperature range. And
Yeah,
we need water
water.
within 3 days. You
Mm-hmm.
maybe need medical. You need a way to communicate with people. You need to be able to breathe, air, shelter, water, food, right? Do you have clean air? Do you have a shelter to regulate temperature? And do you have water and do you have food? So really the kit was designed to look at what the most likely scenarios are out in the world that people come in contact with and how to get them into a state where they can sustain. I'm thinking right now of like a friend of mine she's a model and she was doing a photo shoot out in the desert in Las Vegas and their truck got buried in the sand and they didn't have cell service and it was like 100 and some degrees. And they pulled out the Mylar blanket and made a shade and they had water and they were able to charge their phones and get to a place where there's service and it saved them. Um, that same kit could work in a cold situation, right? You could start fire with it. You can have a shelter and stay warm. So what we really tried to do is create a very generalist kit that can do a ton of things because that's the thing about emergencies is you don't know what they're going to be and when they're going to happen, you know? Um, so so that's kind of how we think about that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are your what do you just carry on your person every day? Not in your vehicle, but like, what is there anything essential that you carry on you that you're like, I won't walk out of the house without this, on my body?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like my biggest resource is my vehicle because I'm always close to it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've got my phone, got a knife, like my buddy Andrew's knife. I wear a Garmin, kind of gives me a lot of biometric data, and those are the things I always have on me for sure. Now, if I'm going to be out doing something else, I might have a gun with me. I'm not a guy that doesn't leave home without a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
But in my truck, in my car, I've got I could live a long time with what's in my vehicles. I've got
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. What's in your vehicle?
well, it depends on the season.
Mm-hmm.
I changed it. Like I just swapped out my stuff. Yeah, so I have a Raptor and I have a Tesla, and I try to keep the miles off the Raptor. So I have this little Tesla I drive everywhere. But I
Your
was cleaning up
Tesla
the
hasn't been
Tesla.
keyed yet.
Not yet. My parents ask every day. I'm worried about that.
I saw a guy at my daughter's school, which I mean, she's at a college, so it's super lib town, and he's driving around in a Tesla, and he's got a bumper sticker on it that says, "I love my Tesla, but I hate Elon." So he wouldn't get rid of his car, but he had to make sure everyone knew.
Well, the funny thing about ruining Teslas is then the insurance company buys another one, right?
I know. It's like it makes no sense. I've got a Raptor too, so I love my Raptor. Keep going. I mean to cut you off.
Well, I was just doing the changeover, and in the frunk, I had snowshoes, boots, puffy coat, gloves, goggles. I've got one of our 72s in there. I've got toe straps, um, and some water in the main area so it doesn't freeze. But I've got chains for my tires, and that's the car that I essentially just drive to work and home. I don't usually
Mm-hmm.
go too far off the grid with that. My truck, I've got a topper on it, an RSI smart cab, and then a deck system. And that deck system is plumb full of stuff. So and I've got the jump starter in both vehicles too, although it doesn't really work for the Tesla, but it does do the tires. Um, but the truck, I mean, there's just I've got
Loaded down.
camping food and stoves and blankets and sleeping bags and knives and got a gun, whatever vehicle I'm in, and there's a lot, man. I could do a whole hour on probably what's in there,
Do the
but
truck dump. A truck dump
yeah,
video. We need an Uncharted truck dump video, man.
that might be a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot in there, and changes if I know I'm maybe driving to a hunt somewhere and it's a 20-hour drive, I might change out what's in there given where I'm going and what's going on. But generally speaking, like I look forward to the day where I can pull over and help somebody and have the right stuff,
Yeah.
So I try to think of myself and others there.
So a lot of my listeners are East Coast whitetail guys. They're not people who are, out in the backcountry for 7 days at a time. From the standpoint of what Uncharted carries, what from a product standpoint, guys who are doing day hunts, guys who are, out in the woods for maybe they're overnight, that kind of stuff. Where's a good place to start with them on the product line if they're going to look at some stuff that makes sense for that kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, well, I think a lot about concentric circles, right? So what I think about is using my vehicle as a base,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then kind of spiking out from there. So the truck, I've always got a survival kit in there, the tow strap, the jump starter.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on foot, if I'm going to a campsite, I might take a smaller first aid kit with me.
When you say a survival kit, you mean the 72?
Yeah, I have a 72
Gotcha.
Pro in the truck. And then I've got a smaller first aid kit at camp. And then, if you're on foot, our little triage kit, which is just a little, I don't know if I have one up here, but it's a little it's like an envelope size thing. It weighs 130 grams. That's on me all the time. If I'm mountain biking, if I'm running.
What's that got in it? Because I'm asking because I'm leading up to something. But what's in that triage kit?
So it's half gear repair and half first aid.
Okay.
There are zip ties, baling wire, blister gels. There are Band-Aids. There's different ointments, Vaseline, all sorts of stuff in there. There's like 30 things in there. The idea was to build a kit that you would take with you because it wasn't encumbering of your adventure,
mm-hmm.
but could really get you to the next stage if you needed to. I saved my dog's life with it a couple winters ago. A skier ran into him in the backcountry, and I was able to use the zip tie, the duct tape, stick, and some gauze and make a makeshift tourniquet. Shame on me for not having a tourniquet with, but duct tape him up, put him on my shoulders, skied him out, and the vet said he had minutes to spare, but had no idea how we were able to do that. He's like, I can't believe you guys came from Clayton Peak all the way here in that amount of time and was able to build this thing. So sometimes, John Bartle and I talk about this a lot. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect; it just has to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot about that. Like, just having some stuff can make a big difference to get you to the next step. So, I take that. If I'm doing like a day hunt, I'm hiking around, we have a pack called the Park Pack, which is a kind of a fanny pack. We made it so it doesn't bounce. It's got 2 water bottle holders on it. I actually cut a hole in one that became a bugle tube holder. And then I've got water. You can remove those. You can put a pistol holster. You can put a bear spray holster on it. But it's enough space to carry a layer, some food, a kill kit, some first aid. And then you can move fast and your back's not sweaty. And, maybe your guys are standing in tree stands more. That's not as important. But for me, like, moving quickly through the mountains and not being stinky is like an important piece of the puzzle.
That makes a lot of sense. If somebody's in a tree stand a lot. So the reason I asked that question is, so I was out scouting like a week ago. And I live right where the hurricane came through. So we've got pines everywhere. So there's tons of deadfall. And I was being lazy. I didn't want to go walk around all this stuff. So I decided to climb over like 3 or 4 of them. And I got on the top and grabbed one of the branches. It broke and I fell about 5 feet backwards. And luckily I landed on my pack. I had one of my, like, my Western pack, and I had just some day stuff in it because I was out there all day. And that kind of broke my fall. But I could have very easily like had a tree limb right in my, kidney or something that was bad. From a standpoint of what y'all carry, what's a good, knowing that guys are up in tree stands, that kind of stuff, what's a good item, that's they're buy one thing, they stick it in their pack and forget about it. Like, what's the best product that you carry that they could take out in the field with them for something like that?
Yeah, I like our First Aid Plus. This guy right here, it's a medium-sized first aid kit. The reason I say that one is you could just leave that in your tree stand. It's completely bomb-proof. And in fact, if you stop at the TAC water stations, you'll see one of these sitting out there. They've had the same ones for multiple years, and they look like they've been through a hurricane, but the inside is totally pristine. So
Does that have a tourniquet in it, or do you still have to have a tourniquet on top of that?
So we include what's called a Slishman pressure bandage.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen those?
I know what they are, but talk about them because I don't think everybody does.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. This one's a little picked over here. It's a sample, but it's a pressure bandage. It has like 100 applications. So if you had a broken bone and had to, put a splint next to it, you could use it and wrap it the long way and hold your arm in place. You could use it as an arm sling. It works really well as a tourniquet. It's got a loop on the end. You put your arm through, you pull it tight, and you just keep wrapping. It has Velcro, and you can wrap it tight enough to apply pressure. It's really easy to do on yourself, which is one thing I like about it versus a tourniquet. Look, have a tourniquet. I think they're great, but have the training as well.
Yeah.
But this kit, what I love about it is just they are so bomb-proof, and it's got a bunch of medical supplies. It's also got a multi-tool, a flashlight, batteries, duct tape, zip ties. Like, how many times are you out there? And if you could fix this one thing, you don't have to go in, or maybe it compromises you, right? If you can fix the gear, let's say it's raining, you got a hole in your boot. Like, if you can just put some duct tape on it, you can stay out longer. And that sounds silly, but it's those little things like a blister on your heel that ruins your day and maybe causes other problems. When if you can get in front of them and take care of it, it really it lets you keep doing what you're doing. So I think this kit's an incredible value. It's got a ton of great stuff in it. We worked really hard on it, and the container is just bomb-proof. It's got Molly on the back. It's pretty cool. It's got the Molly backer, but then you can also peel that away, and it's got Velcro, and you can just stick that inside your car, like on the Velcro inside your car. It'll sit there.
Cool. Yeah.
So there's just a lot of cool features about that thing. It's kind of a mini survival kit. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and if you're hunting in a tree stand all season, take it out there and just leave it. You have to carry it back and forth. Good kit, and you're good to go.
Nice. That's good stuff, man. I appreciate you jumping on. I know you're super busy, so thank you very much for your time.
I wish it wasn't this busy. It wasn't my choice.
When are you taking off for your trip?
Monday. So in like
a few days, like
5 days. Yeah, I started packing last night and hadn't even thought about it yet. So yeah, it's getting real.
How much does your pack usually weigh when you're on a trip like that?
Usually what I will take is I have a hard shell bow case, and then I'll take a big duffel bag as well. Okay. And I pack a ton of clothing in the bow case so that it doesn't rub and bounce around. I had a trip once where my bow was flopping around and the string almost sprayed on me. And then I was in Africa with, holding on by a thread. So anymore, I take all my really, soft, puffy stuff and just pack that bag full. And
just pack it all around the bow.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep. Yeah. Just as hard as I can, lock that thing down. I'll bring, this one's tough because it is actually getting into winter over there. It's kind of wet. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have everything from, 70 to snow. And it's a couple weeks. And so I'm having to take a little more, but, I've got some good friends at Sitka and got some really nice stuff from them. It's really about layering, right? I've got like kind of one of everything, and you just stack it when you need to. And, get used to being a little dirty, and that's the way we like it.
Stack and peel, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Tell people where they can find you. Tell people where they can find what the website is and all that good stuff.
Sure. The website is unchartedsupplyco.com. Our Instagram is just at Uncharted Supply Co. I'm at Christian Schauf. Honestly, if you type in anything Uncharted on the website, in your browser, we should show up. We spend enough money with Meta to get that right. So just
I will tell you that you do show up.
Yeah, it should,
because that's how I find it. I just type in, now at this point I just type in UNC and it starts showing up because I'm on there so much. But
yeah, sometimes I wonder if maybe we're overspending on that, but it definitely helps people find us. So yeah,
it definitely does. Yeah. Well, thanks for jumping on, brother. I appreciate it. Good luck on your hunt.
You bet, man. Thank you.
Keep the faith, man. You guys are going to get through it, and you're going to be stronger for the wear at the end. It's a great company. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
Yep.